Hello and welcome to Channel Duello. The new Gwent expansion set, Way of the Witcher, is finally out, and it's time to review each card in the set. But I decided to do this in 7 parts instead of shooting a long video. Why am I doing this? First, that would be kinda boring. Second, the cards in this expansion seem to have strong interactions among themselves, and it looks like they are designed to be played in thematic decks. So I'm going to be reviewing the set faction by faction plus the neutral cards and upload these videos consecutively. So by the time you're watching this, hopefully all the videos will be uploaded. So make sure to check out the rest of the videos in the playlist, which I will provide below. And this introduction part will be the same in every video, obviously, so feel free to skip it and enjoy the rest. Welcome to Way of the Witcher Faction Reviews Part 5. I'm going to be talking about Monsters faction in this review. And Monsters faction do not have Witchers in it, since the Witchers hunt monsters, so... and CD Projekt Red decided to name this faction Way of the Mutant, which represents savagery and hunger. Okay, so let's see what they're talking about. Well, we don't have Witchers, but we have some bronze cards. Let's start with Chimera. Chimera there is a mutant, and when it deploys, it consumes an allied unit, and if you have cards less than 4 or equal to 4, it puts all copies of consumed unit in that row by 1. So there is a bonus in addition to that consumption, and if you have plenty of insectoid tokens or rats in a specific row with 4 or 5 units, if you consume one of them, it's gonna boost the rest of them, so that could add more points than you can imagine. I mean, consuming is always nice, you can consume your Death Wish units, but adding points if you have the same unit types, that could be really helpful if you're running a swarm type deck. The next bronze card is Hybrid. Hybrid is probably one of the worst cards in this entire set. It's really underwhelming. Whenever you consume 1 or more units, boosts up by 1. So it's an engine, and you need to keep consuming units. Well, maybe it should have been 5 power or something like that. 4 provision, 4 power, and not a lot of points potential in my opinion. It's weak. Fuka, on the other hand, is pretty good. Fuka is a 5 provision, 4 power Thrive unit. It has Veil on it, and the interesting thing about Fuka is whenever an opponent plays a unit, this unit's Thrive ability is still triggered. So it thrives on both turns, which is really big in my opinion, and it could really be annoying for the opponent if the opponent can't remove him. It also has 1 armor on him, so it can die to 4 powered spells. I think it's a pretty good card, especially if you spawn it with your location card. And the final bronze card for monsters is again a bit weak card in my opinion, Succubus, and it is a Death Wish unit. At the end of your turn, summon a different copy of Succubus from your graveyard to a random row and give it Doomed. So she will be kinda recycling herself, but you need to have another copy of her in the graveyard. And somehow you gotta find a way to produce more Succubus. Succubi, or the plural form. And with Adrenaline 3, you don't give it Doomed. So as I said, you need to find some kind of a recycling system to get benefit from Succubus, and 5 power, 5 provision, 4 power, it's really not that great. It should have been a 4 provision card in my opinion. And here comes the location for monsters. It's called Doldu Loke or something like that. I think it's one of the strongest location cards. Well, it spawns the bronze units that I just mentioned in the previous slide. And the order ability could really be helpful. Order, move the highest power unit to the top of your deck and spawn a drone on both sides of this card. Moving the highest power unit to top of the deck is really good. It will strengthen your next round, first of all, even if you lose this round. And adding 2 drone units could really help with some, consume engines or other type of stuff. So that could help as well. And some cards like Imlerith could benefit from this card. With Imlerith, you can draw the top unit and then discard a card, so you're guaranteeing to draw the highest power unit on your board. So you can use the ability and then play Imlerith and get a lot of points potential from that. So I think it's a solid order ability. Plus the premium is pretty cool. And legendary Witchers, the other opponents had those, but as I said, this monster faction doesn't have any Witchers, so instead we have a legendary insectoid, which is Koshei. And Koshei is really a great Thrive card. And 10 provision seems a lot, actually. 4 power and 3 armor on it, so it's really difficult to deal with. It's hard to get removed, but it is susceptible to things like getting locked or poisoned. Anyhow, it has Thrive on it, and whenever its Thrive is triggered, it spawns a drone in this row. Spawning a drone really is not that big of a deal, but if you're paying attention to the number of your cards in your hand with Adrenaline 4 or less, whenever this unit's Thrive is triggered, spawn an Endrega larva instead of drone. And Endrega larva has Thrive on it, so if you keep playing cards, for your last 4 or 5 turns, the larvas will get bigger and bigger and will even produce even more larvas. So if you're planning to use Koshei, you need to pay attention to the placement of the units as well. So why? Because you can fill out your row and then you won't be able to spawn another larva. I think this is a really good card. If you're planning to play Thrive units, in a Fruits deck or maybe Force of Nature deck, this card will be really good, and I think it's a solid addition to Monsters faction. And the most controversial card of this set, in my opinion, is V. While I was shooting this video, well, I mean, before I shot this video, about like 3 or maybe 4 or 5 days ago, V was really popular because someone built a deck that is totally based on playing V over and over again, which is really boring and cancerous in my opinion. And it was really easy to play, so everyone was playing it, and all of a sudden it was like tier 0 or something, but people came up with this solution to defend. I don't think this is really a great deck, but in certain matchups, V decks are auto-win. So some decks can't deal with the V. What does V do, by the way? This is a Death Wish unit. Shuffle V back to your deck, then increase its base power by 3. So if you keep consuming V with several units and engines, and even your leader ability, you'll get stronger Vs, and that increased base power by 3. It's normally you consume it, and the next V will be 11, and then maybe in normal circumstances you can maybe consume it once more. I initially thought, I mean, it could be like 14 power, but I was wrong. I have seen Vs even closer to 30 power, and that could really get out of hand. I will talk about this deck a bit more in the next slides. So, I mean, V is a great card in my opinion, but I think they should modify the text or something like that. In this form, it's really quite cancerous. What about the epic monster cards? We have again an insectoid and a beast. Either is the insectoid gold card. Order with Adrenaline 3, consume all tokens on this row and gain immunity. Whenever you consume 1 or more units, spawn a drone on this row. The second text is permanent, so whenever you consume something, it will spawn a drone. It's just a 1 power drone. But if you're planning to play a spawn deck, like a swarm with insectoids, this card is really good. And 8 provision, 7 power isn't that bad. And with Adrenaline 3, it can gain immunity. And I think it's a solid card, but it isn't great. Were Rat is like the rat version of either, and it doesn't have adrenaline. Well, at the end of your turn, this card consumes a unit to the right. So it not on deploy, but at the end of the turn, it will consume, and it's a consuming engine. As long as you keep units with Deathwish ability right next to Rat, it will keep consuming them. So it's nice, you know, you don't have to use your leader ability to consume units or play additional units, and it will get bigger and bigger. And if you plan to, you know, use the order ability, it will reset this unit's power and spawn a number of rats in this row and equal to the amount of boost it lost. So essentially, rat shouldn't consume a lot of big powered units. So consuming 1 or 2 or 3 powered units is ideal in my opinion. So otherwise, you're gonna fill the row with rats, and the additional boosts will not, you know, help you, or you may not want to click the order button. And you can do it every time because it has a cooldown of 1. I think it's a great card. It's a great design. The artwork is great. Premium version of this card is also phenomenal. And unfortunately, right now, Rat isn't really popular, but I think it has great potential, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see more of it in the future. Finally, is the special bronze card for monsters. It's called Spontaneous Evolution. This is similar to that Shaping Nature card. I mean, the design structure of it is similar. It's going to give you 3 options. Well, what does this card do? The main ability is boost an allied unit by 4 and gain boost an allied unit by 4 and gain an additional effect. The effect is based on what you have on the board. If you have an insectoid and you're playing this card on an insectoid, it will spawn 3 drones on boosted units row, and I think it's the most viable effect of the 3 presented here. If you play it on Beast, boost that unit by 8 instead, so you will gain 4 additional points, so similar to Adrenaline Rush. If it is an Ogroid, give all Ogroids in your hand 2 armor. If it was 2 power, that would be, you know, playable, but, you know, there aren't really a lot of Ogroids in this game. And even if you have a handful of Ogroids, what will you do with 2 armors on them? So I think the last option is quite weak. And but many people are already playing the insectoid version, so spawning 3 drones and then you know, playing amulet or something like that and get more value out of those spawned drones. And I think this is a pretty good card. So as you see, there aren't any new abilities or interactions, but with these cards we're going to see some enhancements in already established mechanics. Like we're going to have more insectoids, obviously. Majority of these cards are insectoids or beasts, so if you're planning to do something with insectoids, these cards will, you know, be included in those decks. And if you're planning to play swarm decks, it could be either rat swarm or insectoid swarm. We're getting cards for both of these selections, but I mean, the cards are really good design for insectoids a bit more. And we have some new Deathwish units apparently, and more Thrive units, better quality Thrive units. And we have Idoran. As you see, this card isn't a monsters card, but I think this guy is best suited to play alongside monsters faction, although it is also powerful with other factions as long as they spawn something. But monsters has lots of targets, so don't forget about Idoran of Uluvo. It goes really quite well with you know, Fruits of Iskith leader ability, and then you can play it with Parantir, and there are a lot of spawning options, like the new Koshi cards. Idoran will also spawn units as long as the other units spawn units, so you can fill out your row with those, even the Rat. So there's a lot of potential again in this neutral card. Okay, let's get to I didn't say new decks or new mechanics, but there will be some new decks. There is a recycling V theme going on, as I mentioned, and you can play V over and over again and keep consuming it with special units or your leader ability. So uh, even that, I mean, how many times can you play? Well, actually, there are a lot of cards that you can summon V from your deck. Like you can tutor it with Oneiromancy, Nagelfar, and this Whispering Hillock card. You know, you can play a Death Wish unit card from your deck, so it is a tutor card. Royal Decree is a classic tutor neuter card, so it's still applicable for V and Mata. And if V is the highest provision card in your deck, if you played, you know, Oneiromancy already, so V will be the highest provision card by default. So you can, you know, draw V once more and keep consuming it. How are you going to consume it? Well, no, even before that, there are other options. Let's not forget about those, like ADC. Alzur's Double Cross is going to play the highest units, and this Unicorn card as well. It's going to spawn V, and then the opponent will have to summon the highest power unit in his deck as well. But if that unit has deployability, he's going to be screwed. So this card is really great against those kind of decks. And the consuming options, we have this Barbagazi card, which isn't normally played, and all of a sudden you have to play it if you're planning to use a deck like this. Slizzard, again, a pretty bad card, but good in this deck. Bargas is an okay card, obviously good consume card. And even Desert Banshee, you know, you spawn Desert Banshee with your Hound scenario, but you can, you know, play Desert Banshee in the main deck. So it is possible. And Draga Warrior is still an option, and I forgot the name, and this consuming card as well. And as you see, the options are endless, and the entire deck theme is based around this. I think, as I said before, I mean, this deck isn't super strong, but it's extremely annoying, and playing this card is mindless. It's a dumb deck. You don't need to think about it much, and just keep playing V over and over again. CD Projekt Red needs to do something about this and somehow find a nerf to this card by not completely destroying it, because I think this is a solid card. I mean, you can play it in a classic Overwhelming Hunger deck, but they need to put a limit to this, like they did with Detlef. And you know, you can consume Detlef not more than twice. So maybe you can do something like that. You know, you cannot use this ability like more than 3 times or 2 times, something like that. And after that, maybe they can, you know, decrease the provision cost or something. I want V to be playable, but not in this form. And we're gonna see, and we are seeing swarm rats, swarm decks. As I said, rats or insectoids. You see these tokens here. And for insectoids, there are lots of options to produce insectoids and then boost them, like this behemoth. And then this Aracas nest card, you can spawn 4 insectoids. If you consume this Andraga card, again, we will see more insectoid tokens. With Andraga Warrior, whenever you consume an insectoid, it's going to produce 1 more. And this new spontaneous combustion card, or evolution card, I'm sorry, again will produce insectoids. Either will keep producing, and Chimera, you can consume. If there are more than 1 insectoid, it's going to bring a lot of points. And if you have like 7 or 8 insectoid tokens, Chimera will play for a huge amount of points. So Chimera is great for these type of decks. And what about rats? We have Plague Maiden. When you consume her, you're gonna see lots of rats on the row. Night Wraith is the smaller version of Plague Maiden, and we have Noon Wraith. That will spawn rats on the opposite row, so still a rat. And then we have the King of Rats, Were Rats. And if you put Were Rats next to, for example, a Night Wraith, he's gonna consume nitrate and then produce a lot of rats, and then you can hit the order ability, and it is possible to, you know, produce lots of rats. But I think at this moment insectoids are more stronger. And what do you do after you create lots of these tokens? Well, you can play this amulet, and then you can play that spell once more with Tristanic Telekinesis, and then we have Yennefer to increase the power of all units on the board. You will have more units than your opponents. So this card is, I think, it's really good. I don't think it's great, but maybe they'll optimize it a bit more, and you'll never know. Maybe this deck could go to a tier 1 status or something like that. I doubt it, but I think it's really good. And we have better Thrive engines in Gaucher and Fuka. Fuka is, I don't know, some may not prefer to include it in the main deck, but as I said, the location card will produce Fuka, and Koshi is great, and you can play it alongside Kikimori Queen. I don't think it will hurt, and you don't need to play that old leader ability. There are still ways to summon more than Kikimori Queen, but still, even if you play only one single Kikimori Queen, you're gonna get a lot of value, because there will be lots of insectoids this time. And don't forget our boy Oberon. This is the final form of Oberon, which is a really good art in my opinion. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, if you have several Thrive units, whenever you play Oberon, more than often it's gonna trigger Thrive units twice. First by himself, and then the unit he spawns. So, but you have to be careful with your selections, obviously. So they're gonna be random, and you need to select the proper ones to trigger the Thrives. Especially with Koshi. In combination with Koshi, Oberon is phenomenal. Before Way of the Witcher, what decks did we have, and what are the improvements? I mean, are we gonna see these cards in those decks? Well, I think we will. Overwhelming Hunger was a pretty, standard deck, but right now everyone's switched to V, and I think the original Overwhelming Hunger, even with devotion or non-devotion, is still strong, and we can see some of the cards printed in. Actually, we can, use V in that deck. I don't think it's a bad choice, which I'm using. You just need to delete some of the cards and instead add V on it. I don't know, but I think that left is still better in terms of usage, but we'll see what will happen. With Thrive decks, just as I mentioned, Koshi is a auto-include in my opinion. You should always include it. We had Wild Hunt and Frost decks, with Overwhelming Hunger or Carapace or the Frost Leader ability. Well, we don't have any cards to put there. Maybe the location card, because it's really, it goes really well with Imlerith. I think that card could be included. Actually, the location card could be used in any monster deck right now, but I think it's really useful. And we had another Cancer deck, the Caltulus deck with Carapace Leader ability. I don't think there are any cards that you can add to that deck. That deck is still really strong in specific situations. And we had Rat Attack before, and I think you can improve that deck, but that deck is kind of a meme. It is still meme, I guess, but there are some solid additions like Whirlrat, and maybe again the Chimera bronze card could be helpful. But we are gonna need time to optimize that deck. Right now people are testing on insectoids more. And that's about it. I hope you liked this video. I tried to analyze every card in Way of the Witcher. This time it was monsters. Make sure to watch the rest of the episodes in this playlist. And after this video I'll be shooting the Syndicate and Neutral Cards version, and then the series will be completed. If you're watching it after I put this on the internet, you're gonna see the entire playlist, and hopefully you'll like them. And make sure to hit the like button if you do, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're liking the content. And see you in the next Duello video. Bye bye.